Yesterday, the Congressional Budget Office said if we hike the minimum wage to $15 an hour, it may well reduce poverty, but it will also cost 1.4 million jobs. Matt Rosen is an expert on the future of work, and he is on our Newsmaker line right now. Hi, Matt. You're very welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show this evening.
You are more than welcome. So it does seem you don't need to be an expert on the future of work. If you look at some of the minimum wage jobs that we have right now, and in fact in some places you can actually see what forcing this wage up is already doing, which is increasing automation.
That's absolutely right. You know, it's hard to tell what will come from Congress, but automation has already been entering our lives over the last couple of years, whether we realize it or not. Things like the Alexa, things like the ride-hailing app Uber, those are all run by robots today and are replacing, people that are taking orders or dispatchers. So a lot of robots and artificial intelligence that's going to displace work is already happening. I think what you may see happen is that accelerate. If laws are passed and wages go up, it's going to accelerate the adoption of technology.
Right, because the bottom line is we, and by we, I mean the American people, because I only tend to use fast food on long road trips, but we want our dollar menu. We want to be able to, get a burger for $1, a fries for $1, and a soft drink for another $1. We want that. And you can't do that if you're having to pay a bunch of people $15 an hour.
No, and in fact, what you're going to see happen is there's not going to be as many people in the front of the house. You might order via a kiosk. You might see Flippy, the robot flipping burger, and you might just have a managerial staff and people that are there really to oversee those robots. So while some jobs were going to go away, you're going to have other jobs appear, such as if you replace everyone with robots. Someone still has to make sure the robots work. Somebody still.
You brought something to my mind right now, which is completely related and completely unrelated as well. We were actually just talking to the Consul General for Israel before you came on the air, and about 3 years ago, I went on a trip, and they showed me Iron Dome. Now, Iron Dome exists to take down incoming missiles, right? And we get to this Iron Dome installation, and I'm expecting a whole bunch of people. There is one guy with a rifle in his lap underneath an umbrella on a warm day looking at his phone. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, don't be fooled. We don't need people. This is completely automated. Iron Dome decides when there is an incoming missile. It decides whether it's worth taking it down because it might hit a populated area, or whether it's not worth doing anything about it because it might land in the middle of the desert. And then it chooses whether to fire or not, and then it chooses which side of the incoming missile it should hit to make sure that the debris falls as far away from humans as possible. That's all automated. And then the people who are there, the very few members of the IDF that are there, their job is to reload Iron Dome. That's it. So yeah, you really, I know it's totally unrelated from flipping burgers, but it actually isn't, is it? It's exactly the same principle.
Yeah, what you're going to see is fewer humans, used to operate, whether it be a hotel or a retail location, and they're going to be much more in managerial positions and make sure the robots are doing what they're supposed to do.
Right. Fascinating. I've always said that really the minimum wage should be zero. And that's not being mean. It's just the market decides the level that you need. So if the minimum wage is zero, no one's going to be my producer, as an example. I've got a new producer who's great. But no one's going to be my producer for $1 an hour. They just won't do it, right? So we know that that's not the rate. We know that's not the market rate. It's not $1 an hour. And at one point pre-pandemic, when Iowa was near full employment, we had the lowest unemployment in the union. McDonald's in town was offering $17 an hour to get people to go work there. They put the ad in the window because that was the market rate. We had so few people looking for work. They needed to do that to get people to go work there. That's the market deciding. That's how I think it should work, to be perfectly frank with you. But it doesn't. So 1.4 million jobs, according to the non-partisan Congressional Budget Office. That's a lot of jobs, man.
That is. And I think what people are going to have to do that are in those jobs, they need to get ahead of it. You can actually go to some fun websites like "Will a Robot Take My Job?" and type your job in, and there's a lot of the hotel desk clerks, service industry workers that unfortunately their jobs are replaceable, and these folks are going to need to really retool themselves. And whether they want to learn a skill like coding or they want to become an apprentice and learn a trade. Heck, we have a massive shortage of truck drivers right now. I think there's, of those 1.4 million, there are still lots of job openings, and so it's going to be incumbent upon those folks to really look to retool and re-educate themselves.
So that's cool. Will a robot take my job? Is that literally the name?
Yes, Will a Robot Take My Job is the name of the website.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll look into that for sure. You mentioned truck drivers, but of course we have self-driving semis now. So that's not a job with a long-term future, you would think.
Well, you think about it. Airplanes have been flying by robots for years.
Right.
Since the 70s.
Yeah.
The pilots take it up and take it down. They're there for emergencies.
Yeah.
So I do think for that last mile and pulling the truck in and out of dock, going through, material handling zones, I think you'll still have drivers. So it'll actually become a much easier job because you're not going to be sitting there driving the whole time because the truck will.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on the record. I'm not getting on a plane being flown by a robot. I'm just saying I'm not doing it. I want to see the pilots there. Thank you very much. Matt Rosen is an expert on the future of work. If you want to find out more about Matt, you can do so at allata.com.
Yep.
allata.com. Matt, that was fun. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me on the show. Have a great evening.
You too. Appreciate it.